Okay, students, so today we're going to be going over learning unit conversion. Unit conversion is all related to being able to calculate the speed of our CO2 cars after our races are done. You will know the length of the track in our room in feet. You'll know the time it took your car to go that distance in seconds. So we want to be able to convert feet per second into miles per hour. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the worksheet that's in front of you and figure out how to convert seconds into hours, then how to convert feet into miles, and then how to combine those two so that we're converting feet per second directly into miles per hour. So the first thing that you've got in front of you, up at the top of your sheet, it asks two questions. How many feet are in a mile? And how many seconds are in an hour? Now, some of you might know this off the top of your head from either from math or maybe from science class, but I want everybody to just think about that quietly to yourself just for a minute. Do you know how many feet are in a mile? Do you know how many seconds are in an hour? Okay, maybe ask your neighbor next to you if you weren't able to figure that out. See if they know. Okay, so everybody should note down on their sheet that there are actually 5,280 feet in a mile, and there are 3,600 seconds in an hour. These are called conversion factors, and we're going to be using them as we go through this worksheet to convert seconds into hours and to convert feet into miles. So you need to have those noted on your paper. Next, let's talk about this notes section that's kind of on the right-hand side of your page where it says time conversion notes. I want everybody to write down the things that I'm going to go over and that I'm showing here in this video on your paper, because I think it'll help you remember how it is that you actually do these kind of unit conversions. So we've set up what I like to call a little ladder of time units with seconds going down to minutes, going down to hours. Right between seconds and minutes, I want everybody to think to yourself for just a second, how many seconds are in a minute? And then write it in that space right there between seconds and minutes on your paper. Hopefully everybody came up with 60, that there are 60 seconds in a minute. So you've written 60 on your paper between seconds and minutes. Next, between the area that says minutes and hours, I want you to write how many minutes are in an hour. Hopefully everybody wrote 60. We're gonna look at this step by step. You know, I said in the beginning that we're gonna convert feet per second into miles per hour. I want to make sure everybody understands that we actually will convert seconds to minutes and minutes to hours. Really, we'll kind of do it in one step in the end, but it is step by step because that's the way the units go: seconds, minutes, hours. So as we move down this ladder, if we want to convert seconds into some portion of a minute, like 1 second is a very small fraction, a very small decimal unit of a minute that we are going to divide. So on your paper, I want you to write, just like you're seeing here, an arrow going down, that as you move down this ladder, that you are actually dividing. Additionally, in this section here between minutes and hours, we are still going down the ladder and we do division. If we want to convert a minute into some fraction, some decimal part of an hour, that we will actually be dividing. So this is how I want you to have your time conversion notes set up as a reminder to you about what it is that we're actually doing. And now we're ready to actually start doing some conversion of time. Okay, so for our first problem here on our sheet, we want to convert 1 second into some portion of an hour. We know that 1 second is there's 60 seconds in a minute, there's 60 minutes in an hour. So 1 second is a portion of an hour. It's a very small portion. It's going to be a small decimal number. Now, what we're going to do is if we're following our time conversion notes, we're going to move from seconds to minutes. So we're going to take our number of seconds, which is 1, and we are going to divide it by 60, which is our conversion factor. So 1 divided by 60, write that down on your sheet, plug it into your calculator, is equal to 0.016 repeating. So 1 second is that portion of a minute, 0.016 repeating. So like not quite, 2/100ths of a minute. Now that only moved us from seconds to minutes. Now we need to move from minutes to hours. So we are going to divide it by 60 again. 0.016 repeating divided by 60. Plug that into your calculator, write it on your sheet, show your work always. And that gives us 0.00027 repeating. So dividing by 60 the first time moved us from seconds to minutes. Dividing by 60 a second time moves us from minutes to hours. So 1 second is equal to 0.00027 repeating hours. It's a very small portion of an hour. Now there is a shortcut to doing this. You can take 1 and divide it by 3,600. If you look back up to the top of your sheet, that's how many seconds we said are in an hour. So you can take the number of seconds that you're given, you can divide by 3,600, plug that into your calculator, 1 divided by 3,600 equals, and you get the exact same answer because we're dividing by 62 times. So 60 times 60 is 3,600. So if you prefer to go one step at a time, divide by 60 again, that's fine. Do that. If you prefer this kind of shortcut where you just divide once by 3,600, then do that. Now, you've got 5 or 4 more problems here for just converting seconds into hours. I want you to take a few minutes. We'll pause the video here and for you to individually take a few minutes working on your own with your calculator, showing all your work on the paper, and work out the remaining 4 problems here. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the back side of that first page. So go ahead and flip that over, and we're going to be doing distance conversion here. The first step in the process of converting feet per second into miles per hour was our time conversion. That's what we just finished. The second step is this distance conversion. We want to figure out, what portion of a mile some amount of feet is, okay? So let's look on the right-hand side of the sheet where it says distance conversion notes. Here we've got a ladder similar to the ladder that we had in our time conversion notes on the front of the first page, except it's maybe a little bit shorter ladder. In time conversion, we had seconds, minutes, hours. Here, for distance, we just have feet and miles. So just 2 steps instead of the 3 steps on the time conversion ladder. I asked you on the front page how many feet are in a mile. And you should have written down 5,280, because that's how many feet are in a mile. So right here on this little ladder for distance conversion, right between feet and miles, you're going to fill in 5,280. You're also going to add in the little arrow that's pointing down. As we move down from feet to miles, we are going to be dividing. Similar to what we did on time conversion. When you move down these ladders from smaller units to bigger units, we are just dividing. Okay, let's look at the first problem here for distance conversion. We want to convert 40 feet into some portion of a mile. It's going to be a small fraction of a mile because we know that you have to have 5,280 feet total to get to a mile. Well, this is just 40 feet, so that's a small portion of a mile. So to set up this problem, remember that we always show our work. So you're writing this all down on your paper. You never just write an answer for me. I will not give full credit just for an answer. I do want to see what you're plugging into your calculator. We're going to plug in 40 because that's what we're given. That's how many feet we have. And we're going to divide by 5,280. So write that down, plug it into your computer, or your calculator, I'm sorry, and write your answer. You should be getting 0.0075 repeating, and it's both the 7 and the 5 that are repeating there. So what this tells us is that 40 feet is, almost 8 thousandths of a mile, something like that, which is reasonable. It's small. It's a small amount of a mile. So I'm going to give you the time. We're going to pause this here, and you're going to finish off the remaining 4 problems here, just practicing converting feet into miles. All you have to do is take what you're given, the number of feet that you're given, and divide by 5,280. Show all your work, fill it all in. Okay, pause this here. Okay, now we're ready for the very last part of this packet on unit conversion, and we're going to do 5 problems here where you're actually combining your distance and your time conversion together to take a sample set of data and convert it from feet per second into miles per hour. So we'll look at problem number 1 here, where it says that a car went 40 feet in 1 second. So if we took that and divided our distance by time, which that is speed, distance divided by time is speed. If we took 40 feet and divided by 1 second, that would be 40 feet per second. But we want to know what that is in miles per hour. So here's how we're going to set this up. I don't want you to get confused here, but just follow along with these steps. Write down what you're seeing me write down, and you're going to be just fine. So we're going to start off with our distance conversion. So we take our feet given, which is 40, divided by 5,280. Write that down. Now we're going to multiply that by our time conversion. And because our time will eventually end up in the denominator, we are going to flip it and put 3,600, which is how many seconds are in an hour, divided by 1, which was the number of seconds given. Write it down like you see here. Now, in order to multiply these 2 fractions together, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply straight across our numerators. We're going to multiply 40 by 3,600. Plug that into your calculator. You should be getting 144,000. So write that down. Now that was the numerator going across. Now we're going to go across the denominator. 5,280 times 1. Feel free to plug that into a calculator if you really want to. The answer is 5,280. So if you notice here, this is not an answer. This is a fraction. 144,000 divided by 5,280. Go ahead and plug that into your calculator, and then you'll get your answer. 144,000 divided by 5,280. It comes out to 27.27 repeating. And our units there are miles per hour. Make sure that you're showing all your work, that you plug your answer back in on the answer space that's left there. Always include units. That's important. Every single problem is going to get set up the exact same way. Start with your distance given from the problem, and you divide that by your conversion factor for distance, which is 5,280. Next, identify what your time was that was given. Plug that in with 3,600 above it. If you set up every problem like this, and then you multiply across your numerators, multiply across your denominators, and then do a final division in the end to get your answer, you're going to be totally fine.